You know, Dave, every week we go off the deep end, but it looks like to me, we're talking redfish this week, it's not going to be so deep.
No, it's going to be a section called On the Spot. I'm going to put you on the spot today. Redfish has a spot. It was very clever.
Very clever.
On the spot. I figured, you know, you're out there fishing these tournaments. I figured fellas would like to know. There's several questions that I even would like to know. So I wrote down 5 questions.
Okay.
And the first one is, we heard about Jim Ross saying the tide doesn't affect his places where he fishes that much. I know I fish there, Mosquito Lagoon and that. But the most places where you fish, does the tide make a big difference?
Oh, well, absolutely. You know, the key to finding good redfish in most cases, as the tide gets high, the fish have a tendency to take on that similar characteristic like a bonefish. Whether they school up or whether they're individuals or a pair of fish, they potentially get in mudding situations. And remember this about tides, guys. Whenever the water gets higher on a flat, what ends up happening is the volume of the tide sometimes is not as critical. So shallower water, as the tide comes in, is going to have a lot more, in my opinion, volume. And what I mean is the fish are going to they're able to feed a lot easier on skinnier water because the water column itself is more affected by the tide. Once the water gets like this, even though the tide's still coming, it might not be as much influence.
I gotcha.
Okay.
All right. If you only had that one lure to fish, one lure, what would it be?
And you know what's crazy about this is it would probably be a subsurface rapala, like a subwalk. If the color is a part of it, then it's going to be chartreuse and bone, because I can catch them in clear water and chartreuse and bone, as well as I can
Dirty
take that
water.
to a tannic water. Yeah,
Right. There you
for
go.
sure.
That
That
would surprise me.
What did you think I was
I
going
was
to say?
gonna
A gold spoon or something?
I thought you were going to say a jig, jig of some sort.
The truth is, I really like the treble hooks.
Well, there you go. There you go. All right. What's your favorite live bait if you're ever fishing for redfish with baits?
Well, in my neck of the woods, down in the Everglades, it's going to be a shrimp in the wintertime for sure, because the fish get so keyed in, our water gets dirty, and the sniffer, the redfish, really makes a living smelling.
Right.
He really gets locked in on that. I think once the shrimp get out of the system, it starts to warm up, then it can be an array of different things, and there's a state of confusion. They'll eat a mullet, they'll eat a pinfish, a crab.
Yeah.
In the winter, definitely it's going to be a shrimp, and so a shrimp is something they really can tone in on with their smell.
Up where we live, it's the blue crab.
Right.
It's probably the king. Okay. What kind of equipment are you using now for chasing redfish? Rod and reels, what are you using?
Well, you know, certainly on the rod and reel size, I'm using a Shimano 4000 series reel. The reason why I like the 4000 is the spool's just big enough, Dave, that it doesn't seem to have a memory. Even though we're using braid, it's bigger in diameter, so it comes off of the spool. 7-foot spinning rod, not a 7'6", because if I have to sight fish, I want a 7-foot rod.
A little more control.
Yeah, and if it's a 6'6" spinning rod, then I don't get the distance. So I'm going to start off with a 7-foot medium heavy action and, you know, throw it a long way.
And you're using what kind of braid?
4 pound, Suffix 832, and I'm using the 4-pound diameter, 20-pound test.
For your leader, 20-pound test.
Yeah, 20-pound leader, yeah.
All right.
Last
Okay.
question.
Do you ever resort to soaking mullets on the bottom?
No, but I mean, we'll soak a live mullet, or sometimes we'll even use cut ladyfish.
Because when I fish at night, and when we're out wading sometimes, if it gets dark, if we plan on staying the night, we'll break out some mullets and just chop them up. And we catch a ton of redfish on the bottom, like tarpons on a mullet head. You know, you can catch them that way too. But
Absolutely, and I agree 100% with you, whether it's a chunk of mullet, or a chunk of pinfish, or a chunk of ladyfish. Certainly you're going to use what you have a lot of or access to. But that redfish, again, we talked about it earlier. He smells, that he makes a living by smelling. I don't think he sees very well.
Nope, he's very forgiving fish.
That's correct.
That's why we like him so much.
And that's why it's great to take the kids and the wife and everything, because you don't have to be an expert.
Right. That's right. I've even caught him.
Hey, man, that was a lot of fun.
I like doing that.
You know what? We're going to do this again, guys, when we have blue marlin.
I'm
going
do
to be the one asking the questions.
That should be good.